Well, look, joining us now for more on this is former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the day's news, we've got to get your reaction to this social media strategy by Labor. You've got Bowen with a broccoli out there on his fork. Have you got anything to say about it?
Give us more of it, Bowen. Give us more of it. Chris Bowen is advertising out here. Honest to goodness, every time you look like you're about to lose an argument, you just say Chris Bowen and you win it. He's the best thing that's ever happened to advertising against the Labor Party that I've seen in a long while. And you look at him; he just oozes how people see him. So swami. You know, he's got his fancy tie and his tight shirt on, and he's so cool, and it just annoys people because it just oozes. I've got no connection with the real world, and he hasn't.
I couldn't agree more. And don't interrupt your enemies when they're in the middle of making mistakes. So keep on making those videos, I say. Barnaby, a Chinese naval task force has fired live rounds for a second time in 2 days in international waters just off our coast. The Albanese government has expressed their disapproval, as they do every time there's an incident like this. But I want to ask you, what more should they be doing?
Well, I've been saying for so long, and people must get sick of me saying, Australia has to become as powerful as possible, as quickly as possible. I was told to tone that down. I had to say as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. But I tell you what, we have got to realise what is before us. We had 3 Chinese naval vessels stooging past a town you probably all heard of, Sydney, right? And then they started a live fire exercise. That's means firing off rounds. And apparently, so I read, it affected the flights from Mascot Airport. And we're sitting back and we're fascinated with, we're going to have 82% renewables, intermittent power by 2030. Well, that was real power. That wasn't intermittent power. That's what real scary power looks like. And I don't know how you're going to stop them, maybe with your intermittent power precincts and all your wind turbines, and maybe the communist vessels won't be able to navigate through them if they ever wanted to, or you'll get up close to the beach and I'll squirt you with green hydrogen from Australia if it ever existed and if it wasn't the mythical rubbish that it is. But we've been fascinated in all the stuff that is not making us ready for this time. This is totalitarianism is on the rise, and it was personified the other day as these naval vessels went past Sydney to start their live fire exercise. Now, what else do you do to people? How else do you shake them out of their inertia, out of their sort of magical mystery world where they're worried about, transgender equality and intermittent power and all this other rubbish when the real game is right in front of Sydney heads?
Well, if they can't see it right in front of them, Barnaby Joyce, they're never going to see it, and that is very, very dangerous. You're spot on. Now, look, Labor has today officially launched its Medicare campaign and pledged $8.5 billion for bulk billing GP visits. Have a look at the Prime Minister.
Medicare is a promise that government makes to every citizen that if something goes wrong, if you get hurt, if your child is sick, if you need help, you are never on your own.
Barnaby, the proposal's been won up by the coalition, Peter Dutton pledging $9 billion, but it begs a question. How can Labor keep up this facade of Medicare?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to apologise for my garb. We've been landmarking this morning and cattle work this afternoon. I just haven't had time to get back home, so I'm doing this from Barradine. Well, look, they pull this one out of the kit bag when everything else is failing. Just find a complete load of nonsense and start. Who'd want to privatise Medicare, by the way? What are you going to do with it? No one will want it. It doesn't make any money. It's a government service. We've never suggested we're going to privatise it. And when they go back to this process of relying on a lie, it's not the truth, it's a lie, because it stands in proxy for all the other things they haven't done, such as fix up our power bills, such as deal with the cost of living. And because they can't deal with the main game, cost of living, power bills, they're fascinated about intermittent power. I hate to bring that up again, but let's keep talking about it. They think, well, what do we do? What do we latch onto? How do we do this? We'll go with the Medicare campaign because that's worked every other time. So we'll just start lying to people, and maybe we can get in on a lie.
Barnaby, just before we let you go, Pauline Hanson spoke recently about how she tried to woo you over to One Nation. That was last year at a time your coalition colleagues weren't exactly happy with you. You decided not to defect, but there's been recent speculation a Dutton government would not offer you a cabinet position. So I'm just wondering, is there a circumstance where you might consider moving to One Nation, especially if the Dutton government didn't include you in a cabinet position?
Well, look, that's the choice of the Prime Minister of the day, and I'll leave that up to them how they deal with that. I've been incredibly blessed. I've had an incredible career. I'm happy in my own skin. I'm never going to be somebody else for someone else. If they always say, "Oh, the women don't like you." Well, I can tell you, a lot of blokes don't like me either. Let's put it out there. And but I'm blessed with the people of New England. I get 67% of the two-party preferred vote, so. They know me better than most, and I'm not going to change who I am for anybody. Since I've been in Parliament, I've been wooed by... I remember Robert Hill wanted me to join the Liberal Party. He said join a real party. Durham Bandy, I can tell you exactly where he did it. Then at the start, they wanted me to join the Labor Party. I got feelers from the Labor Party. And then Clive Palmer, I don't know whether the Democrats, but I became mates with him. And, of course, One Nation Independence. So if I went the way of where I've been wooed, I'd be... split up. I'd be split into so many personalities and different parties, both the left and the right. But I'm going to stick with what I am, and I'm happy in my skin. I've never tried to be anything else but what I am, and I think people actually want that. They want the authenticity of it. I don't try to be authentic, but I think people appreciate that if you are who you are, then what you say you probably believe in, and it probably means you're not lying.
Barnaby, just listening to that, you've been wooed by everybody except the Greens.
Never been wooed by the Greens, I must admit. I've been waiting for Sarah Hanson to give me a call.
But there's still time.
Let me join the Greens. I can represent you in
there's still time for Adam Bant to give you a call, Barnaby. Don't worry. There's still enough time.
I don't think the call's coming. Mind you, Adam can come out and help us with landmarking next time.
That's it. You're always true to yourself, Barnaby Joyce. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.